Welcome all. In this video I'm going to speak about Bayesian games and an extension of the same, which is signaling games. The prerequisite for this video will be to ensure that you have the basics of non-cooperative games, the simultaneous games and the sequential games, how it works, the concept of Nash equilibrium, everything under perfect or complete information, I assume. In many situations this may not be realistic because, for example, there are two friends. You may not know if your friend really wish to go out with you, or he or she is simply behaving in a different way when you ask something. Similarly, you may be participating in an auction where you do not know the valuation of other bidders. Similarly, the firms may not know the competitors' cost functions. So these imperfectly informed situations can be analyzed using the concept of Bayes theorem, and hence they are called Bayesian games. Let's take an example of a variant of battle of sexes. Suppose player 1 does not know the type of player he is facing. With equal probability, player 2 may wish to meet with him or does not wish to meet with him. So if you recollect, the game Battle of Sexes is a very classical non-cooperative game. The game analyzes a situation like this. There are two players, Tim and Jane. They wish to go out together on a weekend. Now, U2 is some activity that Tim likes more. So if Tim goes out with Jane, he will be very happy. And is happy with the fact that Tim is with her. So 2,1. Now if they are choosing two different actions, their outcomes are 0. So CPU2. And Jane likes CP. So if Tim goes out with the Jane, the outcome will be 1/2, which is the opposite of U2, U2 for Tim. Now this is a typical battle of sexes game. Here we analyze a situation where Jane can be of two different types. The situation that we said is only happening with half probability. That means the Jane may be a Jane who wish to go out with Tim, or Jane may be a Jane who does not like Tim, who does not wish to go out with Tim. So see this example. The Jane who does not like to go out with Tim actually gets 2 when she is going for CP because that is her favorite, but she gets 2 only when Tim is also not going for that. And when it is CP, Tim likes to go out with Jane, so Tim is happy. But Jane does not like to go out with Tim, so even though it is her favorite movie or whatever, she's not happy at all. And vice versa. So this is a situation we are analyzing now. Tim doesn't know whether he falls into the right matrix or the left matrix. He might be in either of the two. But Jane clearly knows, based on her nature, I likes to go out with Tim or I does not like to go out with Tim. So Jane knows which matrix she belongs to, but Tim doesn't know which matrix he belongs to. So this is an incomplete information for Tim. So what is perfect and imperfect information? Perfect information is where at each move in the game, player with the move knows full history of the game thus far. The entire history is known. For example, a chess game. Imperfect information is at some move of the game, the player with the move does not know the history of the game. So let's define information set. So an information set of a player is a collection of decision nodes. So we are referring to a sequential game when we say decision nodes. The player has the move at every node in the information set, and when the play of the game reaches a node in the information set, player with the move does not know which node in the information set he has or has not been reached. Let's go back one more step. So what is an information? Consider a path through the tree of an extensive form game, a sequential game. Which node is a player at In the beginning, we know where it is, but maybe after some time we do not know where I am. Sometime I may know where through which path I came through, sometime I may not know. So the collection of some of these nodes is information set. They are very crucial to characterizing such games. The focus on the number of nodes in the information set. It is useful to distinguish two types of game. Do I know which path through which I came, which is a perfect information game, or if I do not know which path of the tree I came through, imperfect information game. It can be used to clarify issues concerning to timing in games. Let's take an example and it further. So take a pair of games. Each game has two players. One chooses to move left or right. Player 2 chooses to move left or right. Notice the small letter L and R. Playoffs according to the choices made by both players. They differ also in timing. So in first version, player 1 moves on Monday and player 2 moves on Tuesday. They are sequential. In second version, both of them are simultaneously moving on Monday, say at 9 a.m. So let's see. If the first version has sequential version, player 1 moves on Monday, player 2 moves on Tuesday. But assume one's move is not revealed until Tuesday evening and this move happens on morning. Then this is equivalent to both of them playing on Monday, isn't it? So let's see how it looks like. So you can see here, but because player 2 probably does not know whether I am belonging to this node or this node if the strategies are not revealed until Tuesday evening by player 1. So case 1 is perfect information. Player 1 clearly knows where he is. Case 2 is imperfect because there are some uncertainties. I am not sure which path through which I came. We already spoke about perfect information and imperfect information. So to revise, perfect information is in an information where information set is singleton. That means at any stage of the game, every player knows exactly what path I have came through in earlier path of the game. Imperfect information is where there is at least one non-singleton element information set. So if you recollect the second tree, there is a place where I had uncertainty whether I am going to choose a strategy after my previous player has chosen capital L or capital R. That uncertainty leads to an imperfect information because there is a non-singleton information set. Now we know what is a subgame. We have studied it in sequential games. So to revise, subgame is an extensive game. Begins at a decision node that is singleton information set. Remember, an uncertainty place is somewhere we cannot start a subgame. So it has to be a node where I know the history, at least which path I came from, and then the beginning node is a singleton information set. It includes all the decision and terminal nodes after that X, and it does not cut any information set. The Jane who likes to go out with Tim will choose U2. The Jane who does not like to go out with Tim will choose CP. So U2 by Tim and U2 by Jane who likes to go out with Tim, CP by Jane who does not like to go out with Tim. That is one possible Nash equilibrium. You can go and analyze individual tables. So if Tim plays to U2, then Jane wants to go out with Tim will choose U2. The Jane who wish to avoid Tim will choose CP. So we have a Bayesian Nash equilibrium which is U2 comma CP. We can also analyze it through the typical way how we analyze a given table. So let's formally define a Bayesian game. Bayesian game consists of a set of players, a set of actions for each player AI, a set of types for each player I, Ti, and a belief for each player I, Pi, a payoff function utility. So utility is a function of different actions and the type of player I. So this is a key differentiator between Bayesian game and a typical non-cooperative game. Timing, it starts with nature drawing a type vector. So somehow the types are decided. So by which Jane knows whether I likes to go out with him or I does not like to go out with him, etc. etc. And Tim knows that okay, I always like to go out with Jane, for example. Now nature reveals Ti to player I, but not to anyone else. So only Jane knows her type, not anyone else. The players simultaneously choose actions, player I choosing AI from the set AI. Payoffs are received. Recall Bayesian rule, Bayes rule. Suppose we have three events A, B and C. P of A given B is P of AB divided by PB. So P of type I minus 1 given P of type I is nothing but P of type I minus 1 comma Ti divided by Pti. The pure strategy profile S star is a Bayesian Nash equilibrium of a Bayesian game if for each player I and each of i's types Ti, it finds out which utility maximizes the expected payoff. Which strategy maximizes the expected payoff. So it depends on the type given other players types, probability of other players types given my type, and the utility that maximizes my payoff when everyone else are choosing their strategies that maximizes their payoff. Over here no player wants to change his or her strategy. So in a strategic game, a simultaneous game with perfect information, each player chooses an action. In Bayesian game, on the other hand, each type of each player chooses an action. In a Nash equilibrium of Bayesian game, action chosen by each type of each player is optimal given the actions chosen by every type of other player. Matters become more complicated if some players have information about the game and the others do not. Players that lack full information will try to use what they do know to make inferences about what they do not. Consider a simultaneous game move where player 1 has private information but player 2 does not. We can introduce by the types. So player 1 can be informed about possible types. Player 2 is uncertain about type T. So it essentially moves around the same concept that we learned before. The same way how we have modeled the Battle of Sexes Bayesian game. So you can try that out to understand what is expected payoff for player 1 and what leads to the Bayesian Nash equilibrium. So first strategy, one strategy will be the best response for each and every one of its types, whereas two strategy in this example is to maximize an expected payoff. And Bayesian Nash equilibrium, as we defined before, is the utility which is for an optimal strategy. So a strategy is Bayesian Nash equilibrium if for that particular strategy my utility is more than for any other strategy S prime, while other players are all playing their best strategy. Very similar definition to Nash equilibrium. The only addition here is a type, given a type. So in a multi-period and repeated games, players needs to update beliefs by incorporating new information. Sometimes the information may be public, perfect, where they understand the history. Sometimes I have to make certain assumption based on what I am being observed, what I am observing in the system. So one such category of games is signaling games. This picture is from Cape Cod, USA, when I visited a few years back. So signaling game occurs in a sequential game with private information. The informed player takes an action that is observable. Player 1 can serve as a player 1's action can serve as a signal to player 2 that can be used to update belief about player 1's type. Let's take an example, a job marketing signaling. Player 1 can be of two types, highly skilled or lower skilled, which is denoted by the type T equal to H and L. Player 2 is a firm consider hiring player 1. Low skilled worker generates no revenue, only salaries. High skilled worker generates a revenue of pi, and pi is greater than the salary. Otherwise, the company can't survive, isn't it? Given the educational level, which is pi minus w, plus probability of low given the education minus w because no revenue. Expand it further to get probability of high given education of pi minus w. Take a moment, pause, understand the expansion, and then move forward. A perfect Bayesian equilibrium consists of a strategy profile and a set of beliefs such that at each information set, the strategy of the player moving there maximizes his expected payoff. The beliefs of the player moving there are formed using Bayesian rule. And with that, let me thank you. I suggest go Google and practice some imperfect information, Bayesian games and signaling games. Practice them. Good luck.